Hello everyone, Redneck Reloader here. Make another video on loading some 9mm hollow points this time. I'm going to try to make this one a little quicker. I know I get a little long-winded on my videos. It's not intentional. I think I just do it because I enjoy what I'm doing. And the way I look at it, you're just kind of looking over my shoulder. I'm just adjusting that a little bit. While I'm doing this, and I'm just trying to help somebody out. I figure maybe somebody has some of the same problems I have, or some of the same questions I have, so maybe I can answer some as I work through my problem. But I do get a little long-winded, so I'm going to make these a little shorter. I'm going to reload 9mm today, and I'm not going to go through setting up all my dies, just the final one. My first two dies I've got locked down and set. In my other 9mm video I made, I go through all the details of setting up these dies, so I figured I don't need to do all that again. If you're interested in that aspect of it, you can watch the other video and it's a lot more detailed. But this is the first time I've loaded hollow points. I've been getting, I don't buy large quantities of ammo. I'm new to reloading and I'm not sure what I want to do yet. So I've been buying smaller quantities of bullets, 100 at a time. And I've been getting a lot from Everglades ammo. I'm not promoting them or anything, just that's where I've been getting them from. And what I had loaded the 9mm before, I've loaded some lead 9mm too, but what I was getting from them was a 9mm copper plated, this is just ball ammo, copper plated, 124 grains. This time when I ordered some ammo, I just got some 115 grain jacketed hollow points, and that's what they look like. They're really nice looking hollow points, and I decided I'm just gonna get a few and load these. I don't shoot a lot of hollow points, but the reason why I don't shoot a lot of hollow points is the cost. I can go down and used to be able to anyway, to Walmart, and get a box of 50 jacketed hollow points for, I don't know, what, 15 bucks, give or take a little bit. And then you go to buy hollow points, and they come in a box of 20, and they're 25 bucks. So you figure that out. I'm doing the math. It's like 3 times the cost. And I was kind of surprised. I won't say shocked, because I've always thought the hollow points are kind of overrated. I think it's a bit of a gimmick. They push you have to have these hollow points for self-defense, and so they charge such a premium price for them. But these bullets for 100, it was only $1 more to get the jacketed hollow points from the plated ball ammo for 100. So I mean, that's a penny a round. I use the same cases, same powder, same primers. The only difference is just the bullet, and it's a penny more. But when they sell it, the price is, way jacked up there. So it's a little bit of a gimmick, but it is what it is. So anyway, I'm going to reload some. This is my decapping and full-length resizing die. This is RCBS die. It's a carbide die, so I don't have to lube the cases. And I'm just going to load 5 rounds, and I'm using this little tray. This is the first time I've used this. I got this for free, and I don't know why. I ordered this Lyman gauge here that I'm going to talk about later. This is brand new. First time I'm using this. And when it came, this was in here with it. This universal loading tray. And I thought, did I accidentally order that? I got this off of Amazon, and I went back and looked, and I didn't order this. I didn't pay for it. I just ordered this, and this was just in the pack with it. So I don't know why they sent it, but thank you, whoever did. My Amazon people are messed up, I think, but I don't know. I've got it, so I figure I'm going to use it. I don't spend a lot of money on stuff like this. This is like a little, to me, it's like a little nicety thing. It's convenient, but convenience usually costs money, and I don't spend a lot of money on that kind of stuff. Just making sure those are cleaned out. I washed this brass yesterday. I don't wash my brass. I pick it up, wipe it off with a rag, and I go. But I had found some brass up in the mountains that somebody had shot and left there, and it was kind of laying in the mud, and it was pretty filthy. And I said, I'm gonna wash it. So what I did was put it in this old Gatorade bottle, and I found a recipe online for a cleaning solution, I guess you'd say. It was hot water, Dawn dishwashing detergent, vinegar, and salt. And they say you put it in there and just agitate it and leave it for like 30 minutes, and it'll take a lot of the crud and stuff off of the cases and make them pretty and nice and clean. And so I used that. I didn't use the exact formula because they had like a gallon of water and a certain amount of everything. And I was just making a little tiny batch there in that bottle. So I just poured a little vinegar in it, a little dash of salt, a little drop of Dawn dishwashing liquid, then filled it with hot water and left it for not long. Actually, my wife had made breakfast, and I was just finishing it when she called me in for breakfast. And so I just kind of agitated a little bit, left it sitting there while I ate my breakfast. So it's however long it takes a fat boy to eat some biscuits and gravy and bacon, which I promise you it was not long. And then I was done. And it did clean the cases up real nice. It kind of tarnished them. So some of them kind of have this little psychedelic look to them. But they're nice and clean, and there's nothing wrong with them. They can certainly be loaded. So that's a little different today. But anyway, let's get started. I'm going to do 5 rounds. So first, I'm going to decap them and resize. And the primer didn't want to come out all the way. There we go. So I'm going to lower my decapping stand just a little bit because that one didn't hardly push the primer all the way out. They say on this not to stick that pin down too far because it can get damaged. And I think Rock took in the directions that said 4/10 of an inch below the end of the die. I just kind of eyeball it. It's somewhere around quarter, half an inch, and just far enough to pop the primer out. There we go. That's a little better. And I'm just flipping them upside down in this case so I can look at those pockets and make sure that they're the primer is out of there, and just kind of give it a look-see, inspecting the case, looking for any damage, making sure it's all clear. And as I said, while I'm working this, it's just going up in there and it's resizing the whole brass and popping out the primers. Now some of these, as I said, I went shooting yesterday. I picked up my brass, but also found some other brass up there. So some of these were shot out of my gun. Some of them were shot out of somebody else's gun. So that's why I want to make sure and resize them. Especially every once in a while I get some ammo that's come from a different gun and it's a little bigger or swelled in places and stuff. So I want to make sure it's resized good. So I'm going to change that die out. And like I said, I'm not going through the setup, but basically that die, you just run it down until you run the ram up, run it down until it touches the shell holder. I've got it set and locked, so I'm not going to fool with that one. This is my expander die. So this is going to bell that case mouth. And this particular die from Rock Chucker uses an M-type expander, which just means instead of just belling the mouth like this, it has a lip that it puts on. I think it says it goes in about a 1/16 of an inch. And that lip is parallel to the side of the case. And it makes for a real nice little feature because it, when you put the bullet in, it snaps into place and it holds it very solidly. So you know when you have it expanded properly. So I've got that preset from last time I loaded, so it should be okay, but we're going to try it. So we're expanding that a little bit, and that bullet just snaps right in there. And it goes down that far and no farther. It holds it nice and straight. It's not wobbling all over the place. And it's just, it gives you a very good firm seat when you put it in there. It feels really good. I like these M-style expanders. So that's still set good. That was good. So I'm going to go ahead and prime this while I have it here. And I prime on the press. So Just going to put my small pistol primer in here, and I'm using Winchester primers, which I do not like, but that was all I could get at my local store. They fire okay and everything. If you like Winchester, that's great for you. I was having a lot of problems with my primers flipping in this arm when I would put them in, and I would prime the case. The primer would flip over, and sometimes completely upside down, or sometimes they were just crimping there sideways, and my case would get stuck in the shell holder, and I'd have to change my dies out and decap it again in order to get it out of there. I changed this arm back to my original style. I did another video about that. I won't go into detail, but it works a lot better with this old style arm. But what I had found, what I hadn't really noticed, is I was only having that problem with the Winchester primers. When I used some CCI primers, and then I've used some Remington large pistol primers, and never had one of those flip. Whenever I had them flipping and causing me trouble, it was always the Winchesters. So for whatever reason, I just don't have good luck with those. So I'm not using the Winchesters anymore unless I absolutely have to. Just the last time I went to my reloading store, the only small pistol primers they had were Winchesters. And I just dropped my primer. Well, I got lucky. I found that one. My reloading area is out here in my shed. I just cleared off a little spot, and I do my reloading out here. And I've got lawnmowers and weed eaters and stuff around me here, and the floor's dirty and junked up, and it's really easy to lose stuff out here. So. I don't like the way that primer went in. I don't know if you can see that. It's not rounded. It's got like a flat edge to it. I'm afraid it's going to leak around it. I don't like that. It's just not a pretty primer. I don't know why, but it doesn't look good to me. I'm not going to risk it damaging my gun for a stupid primer. So here I am. I'm going to change dyes and decap that and change it out. Once again, it's Winchester primers. I just don't like them. I just don't have good luck with them. So we'll try a different one. Bear with me. This is the thing about my videos. The way I look at it, I'm just out here reloading, and I just do a video like somebody's looking over my shoulder, and I'm just trying to help people. And when I make a mistake or I have a problem, I don't edit it or anything. I just keep it in there, because you might have the same problem or make the same mistake, and it might help you. It's just, I'm not trying to monetize my videos or start a brand. I just do this for fun. You're not going to see redneck reloader beer koozies or t-shirts or anything. I'm just, like I said, doing this for fun. So those are all done now. Let me make sure they're sized okay. I don't like that one. That last one did not seem to be sized big enough. I'm going to run it through the die again, where I had that decapping problem, or that primer problem. I'm thinking maybe I didn't run that up into the die good enough, or maybe it's just a problem with that case. I don't know. Let's just size that again. Make sure. Bell it again. Make sure. Yeah, that's much better. I must not have run it all the way up in there. So it seats real nice with that M-lock. So that one's done. Now these, I've changed my powder charge a little bit on these. With the 124 grain, I was running, I've used unique powder. I was putting in about 5.5 grains in there, roughly 5.4. And that worked real good with those. But I worked up some load data for these hollow points. And I got it from my couple of sources, the factory, unique website, plus also my Lineman's 48th edition PDF that I found online and downloaded. So for these 115 grain jacketed hollow points, my overall length is 1.090 minimum. I'm shooting for about 1.1 is what I was doing with the other ones I loaded yesterday. Powder charge for Lyman's gives this from 4.4 to 5.8. Now I reloaded some yesterday and I put 5.5 grains in it. I wasn't thrilled with it. It was okay. It felt good shooting and stuff. It certainly wasn't overpressured, but the accuracy stunk. And I'm not the best pistol shooter in the world, but I usually hit what I'm aiming at. And I kind of found these were kind of all over the place. And I kind of suspected maybe they were a little underpowered. So I decided to bump the power up a little bit. Now, Unique, they gave the max at 5.8. But when I went on the Alliance website and looked, they gave the max for 115 grain jacketed hollow point is 6.3. So I'm actually got my thrower set to 5.7. So according to my Lineman, I'm up there pretty close to max 5.8. But according to Unique, 6.3 is the max. So I still think 5.7 is probably a pretty good load. Still have some safety margins there because this old thrower, it's not always that accurate. I mean, it might throw 5.8, but it's still, I'm not going over the max. So that's what I'm putting in for powders, about 5.7 grains. Now this die, every time I load, I set this die up because every time you change bullets or anything, it changes. This is my crimp die. It's a taper crimp die, and it's also the bullet seating die. So the body of the die, screwing it in and out, that's what adjusts your crimp. The stem is what adjusts your bullet seating depth. So the way you use this, you go ahead and charge your case. And this is the way I do it anyway. Is you put a charged case in there, and you run up the ram, and you screw down the body, so this is the crimp portion, until it just touches the brass. There. Now I'm going to back it off about a half a turn or so because I do not want to crimp the brass at this stage. I'm not concerned about crimping. Right now I'm just setting the bullet seating depth. That's what I want to get. So now I'm going to seat a bullet, and I want to back this stem all the way up. And I found I have to back it all the way up because sometimes I'll think it's pretty far to the end, and I'll run the cartridge up in there and fool around and actually seat the bullet a little bit further than what I intended to. So right now I really don't want to do much at all. I just want to just get that bullet seated just a little bit, and then I'm going to start adjusting my overall length. So I'm going to get my calipers ready here, and zero them. So I'm going to run this up. Now I'm going to screw this seater die down, and right there I'm already touching the bullet, so it's like right there. And you can seat this bullet partially just like this. So I'm going to just tighten it down a little bit just to start seating the bullet a little bit and get it set. And then I'm going to pull it back, and I'm going to check and see where we're at. We should be way long. So I'm looking for about 1.1. The minimum is 1.09, and I'm at 1.178. So I'm getting there. I'm still a little bit to go. So I'm going to screw it in just a hair and check it again. Because I'm really just going down a few thousandths. I'm at 1.170. I want to get down closer to about 1.10. So I'm about 70 thousandths long. So I'm going to turn it a little more and try it again. So now that's 1.146. So I went in about 30 thousandths that time. I want to go about another 40. So one more time. It's 1.130. And I'm kind of taking my time with this part because I want to get this length right. If you shove this thing in there too far, you're going to overpressure, and I don't want to have any problems. So I'm on 1.17. I'm just going to compare. This is a round I did yesterday. I'm trying to set the length about the same. And this one's at 1.08. So these are actually a little shorter than what I wanted them. So I'm going to try to keep these just a hair longer. These are not short enough to cause a problem with pressure, but they're right down to the minimum, and I don't want to go down to the minimum. I want to keep them about 10 thousandths above it. I shot some of those yesterday and they worked pretty good. That's 1.111, so we're getting there close. A little more. There we go, 1.10. That's good. That's where I want it. So I've got my depth set. Now it's time to crimp. So what I want to do is back that cedar all the way back out again. Just barely going to screw it in. And now I'm going to have to do some crimping. So the way I set my crimp on this die is, well, yeah. So, forgive me, I had a mind fart for a minute. Run this all the way up, and then you screw this die body down until you feel it touch the brass, which is what it's doing now. And they say to go ahead and turn it a few more times until you meet firm resistance, which is right there. Then you run it up, you turn this in. They say to start with about a half a turn. I have found it about 3/4 of a turn is about right for me. Run it back up, and that should be your crimp. And I'm just going to snug this down temporarily because I am pretty sure that's probably going to be my crimp, because that's usually what I do, but I may have to readjust it a little bit. And now I'm going to check it. Now the way I check to make sure my crimp's good, because I'm not putting much of a crimp on there, you just want to take that belling away, is I always do a plunk test. And just literally, take my barrel and plunk around into it, make sure it chambers okay. The problem, when I do that with my 45, it's no problem at all. The 45, I just pop my barrel out and it's no big deal, and I do it. The problem I have with the 9mm is my 9mm is a high point. I've got two 9mm guns. They're both high points. One's a carbine and one's a pistol. And they're kind of pain in the butt to tear apart. You may love high point, you may hate them, whatever. My experience with them is they are a pain in the butt to take apart. My pistol, you got to drive a rolled pin out to do it. And I normally never tear that thing apart. But since I've been reloading, I've had to take it apart quite a bit just for doing the plunk test. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice. So I bought this Lyman gauge. I decided to go ahead and splurge, and I was going to buy a case gauge for 9mm so I could check it here at the bench without having to tear my gun down. But I found this Lyman online, and it was like $30, $35. A case gauge just for 9mm was around $25. So for an extra $10, I got this, and it's got basically all the pistol rounds I would ever load. It's got 380, 9mm, 38 Super, 40 Smith & Wesson, 45 Colt, 44 Mag, 44 Special, 38 Special, 357, and 45 ACP. So right now the only two of them I'm loading is 9mm and 45, but I do have a 40 cal I'm probably eventually going to start loading for. So for an extra $10, I just bought this, and I love it. And so I'm going to do a plunk test with this. So drop it in. It drops right in, no resistance. It's a little below flush, so it goes all the way in, and it comes right out. That's perfect. So that should chamber just fine in my gun. And just keep that on the bench, and it works great. So the crimp's good. My overall length is still good. I found with the hollow points, the other thing is this getting the overall length is a little more finicky, and I think that's just the profile on my bullet seating die. It just doesn't sit in there quite right. I've got another cedar stem that came with this, and I haven't used it. I'm thinking it's a little more rounded up in there. Maybe it might be a better one to use with these. I don't know, but this one I'm going with today. So that's one completed round. So we're going to do another one. Get it in there. Let me set it to the side here for a minute because I got to do something. So now I've got my crimp set, and I've got my overall length on this round, but now I need to reset this seating stem for the overall length. So I'm going to run this up in there and make sure this is backed all the way out so as I don't want to seat it anymore. I'm going to run it up in there, and now I'm going to screw this cedar down until it touches the bullet. And I'm going to snug this down to set it. And I'm going to just give it a little bit of English there with the wrench just to make sure it doesn't wander on me. Just for doing a few rounds is not important, but if you're going to do 100 rounds, it might walk a little bit. So I've got a case, it's charged. I always look, make sure they got powder in them. I don't want any squib loads. And seat my bullet. My seating stem popped out. I did not quite have it threaded in enough. Make sure it didn't damage anything there. Just not liking that stem for some reason today. For some reason with these, I've got to have that stem way out. Because it's just wanting to hit that bullet right away. I've never had that problem with the other one when I was loading the other round. So and actually this cedar actually says it's for 38. So I'm not sure what the difference is with it. I'm just kind of curious if it would work any better. I'm just working myself through this stuff on camera. Now see, that one won't even go down to hit the threads. So this is the one. I just have to be careful and not seat that bullet too far. I don't know why with these hollow points. It's never been an issue with my ball ammo. Well, that's okay right there. Try this one. That's working good there. I just got to be careful not over tighten that and break that thread off. Just something about these rounds is a little bit different than the ball ammo. Just the way that bullet is sitting up in that seating stem. You just can't screw that stem in very far at all. But it's okay. It's working. So my overall length, we're good. We're right about where I want it. And the crimp is still good. So these are good rounds. I'm going to go ahead and knock the rest of these out and we'll be done. Once you get everything dialed in and set, it's not bad. I like this single stage press. It causes me to stop, slow down, think a little bit. I look at those progressives and they're so finicky, and I guess if I was making thousands of rounds it would be different, but where I'm making smaller quantities, wow, that's the first. Never seen that before. if y'all see that. That brass is crushed down. Not sure what caused that. Maybe just a defective piece of brass. But it's weird. Well, there's a dud. I'll pull that bullet and be done with that one. So I guess just a bad piece of brass. I've never had that happen before. So that's just some of the learning, I guess. I'm done. God bless you all. Hello YouTube, Redneck Reloader here. I'm making this little video like an addendum that I'm going to add on the end of the video you just watched. As you noticed, I was having some difficulties getting my bullets seated during that video. I couldn't figure out why. I loaded them yesterday. I was fine. No problems. But I figured it out after I was done. I want to show you this. I made a mistake. And my thought initially was, heck, I'm not going to post that video up. I look like an idiot. But I'm not ashamed. I make mistakes. And I learned from them. So I thought, maybe I'll just stick this up because somebody else might make the same mistake someday. So my problem I was having is when I was seating these bullets, and you see that I had this one crimped. I actually had another one that did as well. I didn't notice it's not quite as bad, but it was the second to the last one. And then the last one I did, it really crushed that case badly. And the problem I was having, which I should have stopped and paid closer attention when I had the problem, but if I can get this to focus, I'm going to put that tray in the background. Anyway, it's, this is my bullet seating plunger, and when I was seating those bullets, even though they're short, I could just barely screw the plunger in, just one or two rounds, and that was enough that I was going to make them too short. You see, it's got a lot of travel in it, and I've loaded these, ball rounds in there before, and never had any problem, and these are longer than the hollow points by a pretty good measure there. So I was kind of scratching my head about why I was having difficulties seating. At that point, I should have stopped and paid closer attention, but, I was just pressing on. Well, bottom line is, after I completed that video, I was taking my dies out, and I was looking at them, and this seating die had a bullet stuck in it. It had this bullet stuck up inside of the die, and you can see it's a little chewed up. And I loaded these yesterday, and it was just like sitting up inside the die like that. So when I was seating these bullets and I was screwing this die in, it had that other bullet on top of it, and that's why I couldn't screw that seating stem in as far as I should have. And I should have known something was wrong there, and I didn't. And luckily I didn't damage anything. Nothing was broken. Ruined a couple cases, but that's why that seating stem was so far out, is I was seating these with that other bullet sitting on top of it like that. And that bullet was just stuck up in there. It's a hollow point, and I just loaded some of these yesterday, and it's the first time I ever loaded these, so it had to have happened yesterday. I'm not sure how it got stuck up in there. I'm guessing I must have been seating some rounds trying to get the bullet depth in there before it was crimped, and I guess when I jammed the bullet up in there and I dropped it back out, the case dropped out and left the bullet in there, and for whatever reason I didn't notice. I didn't make a video of that. I'd like to go back if I did and see when that happened, but I'm guessing I must have just been seating those up in there, trying to get the seating depth, and must have just blanked out for a minute and ran it up, and just the case came back down, and I was probably distracted doing something else and just thought, oh, I haven't put a bullet on that yet, and stacked another one on there and ran it up in there, I guess. That's the only thing I could figure, but that's why I was having so much trouble getting that seating depth adjusted right, is I had another bullet stuck in the die. So lesson learned. Check things over closely. I guess that's why I like using this old single stage press, and while I'm sitting here learning, I don't do large quantities, and it makes me really slow down and look at stuff. I'd like to think I would have caught that sooner. I'm using the excuse I was making the video. Maybe I was focused on doing the video instead of what I was doing, but I don't know if I would have caught that if I wasn't doing the video. It was just weird. So I've learned a lesson from that. If something doesn't look right, I'm not going to press on next time. I'm going to stop and really focus and look at it and figure out what the heck is going on with it. So a little egg on my face today, but it is what it is. I made a mistake, and I'll own up to it. And maybe I might stop somebody else from making the same mistake someday. So God bless all of you. Have a good day.